You often hear about how sometimes the first game of a series is very important. It can that game can help to dictate the tone of a series or even the outcome of a series. Nah, I think the most important games of a series are always games two and game three, in my opinion at least, and sometimes game five. Um, the road team to me is critical oftentimes, unless they're a championship caliber team. It's critical for them to get one of the two games at the opposing team's floor. Okay, it's just critical for them to have, in order for them to have a chance to win the series. Now, oftentimes that's not the case. They can come right back at home and win both games. But if you're playing against a top tier team, it's kind of important to split, man. That's why I was so devastating for Portland to lose game two against Golden State when they had that late lead. All right, but anyway, the question in this game was what type of Bucks team will we see? The first game, the Bucks didn't play particularly well, and still somehow, some way, uh, found a way to win that game, mostly behind Brook Lopez's 29 points, 11 rebounds, 13 of those points of which came in the fourth quarter. In this particular game, the Milwaukee Bucks pounced, pounced on the Toronto Raptors. And in the first half, the Toronto Raptors really struggled with making shots. Some of the shots they made, some of the shots they missed, it was because of great defense, and some of it was just them missing open shots. Um, and Chris Middleton did a really good job of containing, because you're not going to stop him, of containing Kawhi Leonard in the first half of that game. The Bucks were more aggressive. Giannis was more aggressive, especially in the first half of that game. Well, in the first quarter, I think, of that game. Um, he did get some points sort of in the second half of the game, but when it mattered, the tone, the dictating how this game was going to go, the Bucks just bullied the Toronto Raptors for the most part in this game. Um, and it ballooned to a blowout. At halftime, I think they were up 64-39, I think it was, or 65-39 or something like that. And at one point, the Bucks had a 67-39 lead. I think I posted in the communication like this is getting out of hand. But then the Raptors kind of got it going, really behind Kawhi Leonard. All right, Kawhi Leonard went on a personal little mini run. He, Van Vliet, who rose from the ashes, who he's been pretty much as great a postseason as Van Vliet had last year. The polar opposite is true this year. He's really doing nothing out there. But he had a stretch where he was scoring, and the Bucks got, the Toronto Raptors got to within, I think, 13 or 12 points. And oftentimes, when you're getting beat that badly, you want to get the lead down to single digits, possibly nine or whatever, going into the fourth quarter. But then I think they got it to 80-67. But then the Bucks went on a little mini run of their own, and ultimately they expanded the lead back up to like something like 18 points. And the Toronto Raptors never again seriously threatened the Milwaukee Bucks for the rest of the game. And Milwaukee won easily. They won, I think it was 120. What was it? 125. Let's see, 125 to 103. The Milwaukee Bucks take a 2-0 lead in this series, but the scene does shift to Toronto. So Toronto's goal is to even this series at 2 games apiece. But I have a sinking feeling that Milwaukee's going to steal one of these games in Toronto. I just have a feeling they're going to steal one. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 30 points, 17 rebounds to go along with 5 assists. 5 assists. Let's say 5 assists. Mirotic had 15 points, go along with 6 rebounds. Brook Lopez was not nearly the factor that he was in game one, but they didn't need it. He had 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Eric Bledsoe had 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. Chris Middleton had 12 points. Malcolm Brogdon had 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. George Hill, who I think had an offer, if I'm not mistaken, in the first game, came back in a big way, had 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Ilyasova had 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And for the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard had 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists, but it kind of didn't feel like it was, like a dominating, to me at least, 31 points. A lot of it came, I want to say, in garbage time. A lot of that he did score when Toronto was trying to get back in the game, but ultimately the Milwaukee Bucks just proved to be. I'm gonna tell you something, man. Milwaukee just looks like a better team. Like the Raptors have gotten this far, for the most part, behind the stellar play of Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam, and for the most part in this playoffs, it's been those two. But so far in this series, and going back all the way to Game 7 of the prior series, Pascal Siakam has been inconsistent. And the further you go in the playoffs, you're going to need more than just one great player to get you over the hump. You know what I'm saying? No matter who you are. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as great a player as he was with the Los Angeles Lakers, he could not beat the best teams in the playoffs before Magic Johnson arrived. He could not beat the Portland Trailblazers. He could not beat the Seattle Supersonics back in the late 70s. Okay, he couldn't beat those teams until Magic Johnson came. All right. Um, Marcus Gasol, I don't know what's going on with him, but he cannot get anything going offensively. Um, his confidence is probably just not there. Only 2 points. Kyle Lowry had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. I'm not going to talk shit about him because he gave them everything they needed in game one and they blew that game. Um, the Toronto Raptors. So look, that's what you expect from Kyle Lowry. Okay. Um, Serge Ibaka had 8 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He played very well for the Toronto Raptors. Norman Powell had 14 points, and I heard I think it was Reggie Miller say something about this. Like, if Norman Powell continues to play as well as he's been playing in this series, and Danny Green continues to struggle, that maybe Nick Nurse should consider starting Powell. And perhaps there's some truth to that. Joey Meeks had 5 points. Van Vliet had 5 points. Um, and, look, Toronto Raptors, they just can't handle the length of the Milwaukee Bucks. They can't handle the length of the Milwaukee Bucks for the most part. The Milwaukee Bucks, to me, are just a better overall team. When I say team, I mean just as an overall unit. I think they're the best team outside the Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? The way they play it together as a unit, it's beautiful to watch, man. And I have to admit, man, I know it's kind of cliche to say this about Giannis, but if Giannis can eventually develop a nice mid-range jumper, he does not need to be Dirk Nowitzki. Okay, but if he can just develop a nice mid-range jump shot, get a couple of post moves, he'd be nearly unstoppable. it would cause so many uh, matchup and defensive breakdowns. It would be. I think if he were to do that, man, they'd be a nearly unbeatable team. Even Golden State, I think, wouldn't be able to beat this team if Giannis were to develop to that type of add that to his game, add it to his repertoire. This team would be unbeatable. Um, but that's it, man. That's all I got to really say about this game. Personally, I don't see. There's 5 games remaining. The Bucks only need to win 2 of the possible remaining 5 games, and I can see them easily doing that. I think the Milwaukee Bucks, personally, I think they're going to be headed to the NBA Finals, and it'll be the first time they've been in the NBA Finals in 45 years. And in conclusion, I got to say, I told you so. I told you. I thought this team had what it takes to get to the NBA Finals. And personally, I think it had what it takes. They had what it takes to win the NBA championship. And I'm going to keep saying, I'm going to keep talking shit about it because I remember the comments. Okay. Um, this team has the goods. Now, if they play a Golden State team with Kevin Durant, it's going to be a tough series. I don't know if they could be able to beat Golden State with Kevin Durant. Without Kevin Durant, I think Milwaukee beats Golden State. Won't be an easy series, but if everybody's playing up to their expectations, playing as hard as they can with the much and playing as hungry, as they could be, playing a hungry team. Sometimes effort can get you really far, and I think this Bucks team is something special, man, and I think they have a real future ahead of them. But tell me what you guys think.